Can you share like some of the most compelling research findings on this heart's electromagnetic field? Then the role of that in health and healing.
30 years later, that is always a hard question because there's a few kind of key, I think, discoveries. So I couldn't say this is the one. We put electrodes on the chest to measure the electrocardiogram, right? Or we stick them on your head to measure your brain waves, the electro, right? Encephalograph. Well, it's called electro because we're measuring the flow of electricity. And that's what the electrodes see, is they measure the flow of current being produced by the heart or the brain or wherever we stick the electrodes. Whenever you have a flow of electrical current, you generate a magnetic field, right? This is kind of the basics of the modern world, right? How we use electromagnetism in everything we do these days. And one of the qualities of a magnetic field, Mary, is they go through things, right? That's why cell phones work indoors. The magnetic part that goes through the walls and the windows and carries the information from your phone to the cell tower. Your voice, the picture, your text message, whatever. I've also come to understand myself now that nature beat us to all this stuff, right? We think we're so smart, but so we're doing the same thing. So the heart's field, you can measure. The electrodes don't see the magnetic field. You need a different device called a magnetometer to measure the magnetic field. You can stick that out in front of the body or behind anywhere around the body and measure the magnetic field. And with the heart's field, you can measure that a number of feet away from the body, a brainwave about an inch before you lose capacity to detect it. Doesn't mean those fields don't go farther, it's just the sensitivity of the instruments that we have in today's world. So, but clearly the heart's the big player. We're talking magnetically, our personal field environment. So we were able to show that that magnetic field is carrying information for sure about our emotional state. Short version of what I just said is that our emotions don't stop at the skin. We are literally broadcasting and radiating those into the space around us. So part two of that was, well, okay, so what? That's neat, but does this have effects on others? Was the next question. I was actually really surprised that nobody ever tried this before. Without going into all the scientific detail, but basically what I can say is that our nervous systems are also like a big antenna that are specifically tuned to other biologically generated fields. Whatever we feel, right, is in the field, but our other people's nervous systems and the animals as well are detecting that in measurable ways and responding to that information. But this is nothing new. I mean, I think probably for this audience, we kind of know that. This is just showing it scientifically. I mean, we have sayings in our language, right? The tension was so thick in that room, you could cut it with a knife.
But the science is actually showing that I don't know if everyone knows that you're actually measuring, and you can measure the field of someone.
Yeah,
now,
the
magnetic field of someone. So are you able to measure these days, like how big someone's field could be compared to another field?
Well, it's I wouldn't say big is the right word. Now, yeah, you can get bigger power transmitters and all, but what's more important than how big the field is, whether we're coherent or incoherent, doesn't really affect the size or the magnitude of the field. What's, I would say, more important is what is the information that's being carried by that field. So you could be on a cell phone call and telling someone how much you care about them and you love them, and right, or you could be yelling and angry, right? Very different information.